Moist Boys Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Moist Boys Podcast. It is the first monthly breakdown of everybody's favorite filmmaker, quote unquote. I don't know if that's true or not.
He is a quote unquote filmmaker,
yeah,
I guess.
But the Moist Boys are going through the career of one Christopher Nolan, his directorial efforts. I don't think he has very many writing credits outside of his own direction stuff, so probably won't be missing too much outside of that. But yeah, we're going through his entire career, directorial feature films, but and we're going to be doing it in an order that I feel like he would appreciate with his most recent film, and that is reversed. We're starting at not the end of his career, but his most recent effort, and we're working our way backwards
from there.
Yep. But before we get into it, my name is Josh.
I'm Jonathan.
I'm your best bro, Heather.
My name is Josue.
And my name is Harley.
And that's right, boys. We're
also
talking
known
about
as the dry guys.
Hey, you get your dry guys shit out of here. Already just committed mutiny within the first 5 minutes.
But yeah, we're here today to talk about Tenet. It just recently, for us, came out on VOD. I feel like it's been on Redbox for a while now. Because that's still a thing, so apparently. Like, even in...
Yeah.
People still liking that Redbox.
You can still get discs from Netflix.
Yeah,
so.
I do the occasional Redbox.
Yeah.
I usually use their sister company, the Red Tube.
Oh no.
Is this where you watch it? Did you watch a different version of this than we did?
That's why you like it so much?
That's actually how I watched Jonah Hex, because someone uploaded the entire movie. And it was definitely torture porn.
Heyo. So this Tenet is a film where semen enters a man's penis for 2.5 hours.
Jesus.
What?
Right, Harley? That's the version Harley watched.
That was Tenet. I'm going home. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, shit.
Oh, no.
Well, this episode went off the rails quick. We killed Harley.
And reset. And 1, 2, 3.
And clap.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.
We promised better in 2021, but we fucking lied. It's a bait switch. So Tenet stars John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, Elizabeth Debicki. I gotta scroll. IMDb, get your shit together. Way down here at the bottom is Kenneth Branagh. There he is. He's way beneath Hamish Patel, for God's sakes. Michael Caine makes a brief appearance because one thing that I still appreciate about Christopher Nolan, and I feel like some of his weaknesses have come out as he's gotten away from it, is that he will, once he finds an actor that he's comfortable with and he meshes with, he'll stick with him for a while. And he hasn't really done that as of late. And I think the movies maybe could have been better served if he'd done that. I don't know.
I don't know. There's always
Michael
at least.
Caine in Interstellar.
Well, I mean, he's in Interstellar. There's always at least one carryover from one to the next. You had Tom Hardy in Dunkirk, and then that had Kenneth Branagh, and then Kenneth Branagh was the carryover into this one, and
Michael Caine, of course, comes back.
Yeah.
Then there's a couple of guys from The Dark Knight in this. There's some background characters, or Dark Knight Rises, I guess. It's a fairly small, contained cast.
Nolan, cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of new people in the Christopher Nolan world.
Yeah, which was nice to see. I still cannot believe that it literally took me until this movie to figure out that John David Washington is quite literally Denzel Washington's son. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know it either until after. I know. I watched the whole movie, and then the guys told me, and I was like, what the fuck? And made them go back to a part where he was talking, closed my eyes, and I was like, oh my God, you can hear him. He sounds just like him at times.
You can hear it. You can see it.
I know, then I looked at him and I was like,
shit. Yeah. No, it's like if I see him in a movie, I'll watch it. Like Black Klansman was fantastic. And yeah, just to learn that was like, oh, so super cool. Like very excited to see more of him and more films going forward for sure.
He's a great actor. I thought he did a great job.
So like with every new series that we create, I feel like it's good to create a new ranking system. So for like our normal reviews and stuff, we do Clooney's. We used to do back in the day. We used to do what was our Ghibli ranking system?
Skip it, watch it, or completionist.
Yeah, which we forgot to do last time. So, whoops.
So wait, just to clarify, are we watching all of the Christopher Nolan movies now from like back in time?
Yes, Harley, that is
going backwards.
We're
starting. I love that.
We're moving backwards through the timeline.
We are reversing time.
Do you like it as much as the last time we had this conversation, or is this a different level of enjoying that fact?
Did we already talk about this?
Yes, Harley. We have done. We have done the boardroom conversation off podcast, as one is supposed to do.
I'm normally playing Flappy Bird around that time. So. No, that's exciting. That's fun. Yeah, and definitely in keeping with Nolan and his whole time-centric focus on everything. So
yes, Harley. Again.
No, let me explain for a little longer how I appreciate and understand why we're doing this the way we're doing it.
I'm having deja vu.
Stop.
So for this one, I feel like in particular, since it is a new release that is not just like widely available, I feel like going through saying whether or not we recommend people watch this or not.
So we're not going to rank the bongs or anything like that.
No.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. While I like the idea, I would give this like 10 out of 12 bongs for sure. Or like womps.
Womp. Yeah, we're not that tacky here.
No.
So to start off, though, we're going to talk about whether or not we think this is a...
Yeah.
So what do you think, Josh? Is this a watch it,
skip it, or completionist?
I think this falls personally. I think this is for completionists only. I think since I'm the only one that saw it in theaters because I covered myself in saran wrap and
he had a bug out bag full of extra clothes for when he left the theater.
Yeah.
Wait, really? That's incredible.
Yeah, he did.
I wasn't messing it. Like, I literally did not touch anything inside the building the entire time I was there. I did pretty good. I would say that was definitely not worth it. This is a movie. Fortunately for everyone, now it's too late, not to be seen in theaters. If you ever get a chance to, if they'd ever do like a retrospective, skip this one in theaters because it is nightmarish to watch.
Unless you've already watched it.
Even then, like the only thing you would get out of it is just like a headache. It was so incredibly loud.
Yeah,
and I couldn't tell what
incredibly
anybody.
Close.
Yeah. Shh. Good book. Movie didn't look so good, but I would say if you're a Nolan completionist, which I am, then I would say. But otherwise, I don't like as an enjoyable time. I don't know if this fits the bill for me. Jonathan, what do you think?
I didn't want to do two of these back to back, but I will say also I feel it's a bit completionist. I didn't go see it in theater. I saw it for the first time here at home, which based on article headlines I had seen was the way to go. That it seems the growing consensus is that it's best viewed from the comfort of your home.
With subtitles.
Ironically enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there are issues with this movie that I had that we will get into once we actually have our full discussion. That it was a bit of a roller coaster for me, where it didn't have me And then it had me, and then it fucking lost me right at the last second. And so if you want to know what that means, stick around. But so yeah, for me, completionist. Heather, what are your thoughts?
If you had talked to me when I first watched this movie, I probably had a different answer. But now that I've been able to think about it, and I watched a movie that was way worse in the meantime, I would say that if you are a certain, like, I went into this knowing absolutely nothing about the movie. I didn't know who was in it. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know anything about it except for Christopher Nolan. Like, that's what I knew. I didn't even know Pattinson was in it until he popped up, and I was like, oh shit. I now would say that I think it's a watch it if you like movies that make you think and aren't super easily explained movies. Like I usually am, this is the opposite of what I usually tell people. I'm like, oh, I want movies that help me escape. I don't really want to think. I don't want to have to do any hard work. I just want to watch the movie and be done. Every now and then there's movies that make you feel real weird while you watch them. District 9 is one of them, where I felt like I had to be around human beings afterwards, just doing normal things. This movie made me really feel really weird, and we'll talk about this. I'll get more in depth in it. It made me feel really weird, and so for that reason, I'm kind of like, you know what? Yeah, go watch it. It's an experience, and so you should watch it. So I think it's a watch it.
Watch it. The action's great. The concept, weird at first, is something that I think if you pay attention and get a handle on it, it's really interesting what it does to those action scenes. While it's not their best roles, both Washington and Pattinson are really great.
I think so too.
They're just really great. They're both. Yeah, I would watch it.
This movie's a little tricky. So I watched this literally this morning. So I have not had any time to process. And I feel like my opinion on it might change a little bit given a little more time. I personally really enjoyed this film, but I also just have a penchant for enjoying kind of pretentious Nolan films. So I think I probably would give this film a pass where a lot may not necessarily. I really like the concept. I love the action scenes. Definitely the mechanics of this world were, it was hard. Like I feel like I can normally pick up this kind of stuff fairly quickly. In this film, like I think I finally was able to grasp it by like the last scene, and then of course it just throws you into the deep end. It's like, oh God, I have no idea what's happening. So my recommendations are split. I think that if you are, as Heather said, if you're interested in a movie that makes you think and you enjoy a good action movie and are willing to kind of let some of the dialogue go, it's definitely watch it. But for anyone who isn't really into like concepts or high concept film, like it's probably a completionist. I'd say like if you like Nolan films, watch this.
Where to begin?
Where to begin is if you like that, if you want to go watch it and you haven't yet, you should pause us.
Go watch it.
To us and based on recommendations, decide. But if you have already watched it and you want to continue this conversation with us,
strap in, babies, because this shit's about to get weird.
If domestic violence is not what you enjoy watching,
don't
skip this film.
And I really. Like, let's just crack that egg open. Like, this movie is bad for the one female character it has. Like, it is a bad movie for her. And that's because her entire character is, I have son, I love son. The end.
Yeah.
And then she is treated to varying degrees of hot and cold by different characters of, I need to go do this thing because she woman, or I need to do everything terrible I possibly can to this person because
she is 100% an object in this movie, whether it's an object to protect or an object to own or an object to destroy or an object that gets you what you want. She's the MacGuffin of this goddamn movie, and she's used as an object, and it's really infuriating because bad shit happens to her. She gets beat. She gets
shot.
It's shot. She's mentally abused. She's, she gets physically abused, mentally abused. Like, it's bad.
She just gets lied to all the time by the hero.
Time. Everybody's lying to her constantly. That's not true. The bad guy doesn't lie to her. He's pretty goddamn honest about the fact that he hates her and is gonna just kill her.
Yeah. With one exception, all the performances in this are great.
Yeah.
Like, she gives a great performance
for what she's given.
Yeah. Like, she rings out every single. She's literally pulling blood from a stone, I feel like, as far as like the screenplay goes and what she's able to do with it.
Yeah, there are some.
Well, ironically enough, I feel like that she does really convey the despair and the anger and the rage of someone in that situation.
Yeah, she steals every scene she's in while having half the dialogue, if she has half the dialogue.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are some lines that she has to deliver that you can tell she's really giving her all, but it's just a bad line.
Yeah, she's gritting her teeth through the line, but she's delivering an amazing performance while doing it.
Which is kind of, I feel like, again, that's kind of a Nolan thing. You know, he gives these amazing actors a little to work with, and they do amazing jobs because he just has surrounded himself with these incredible actors and actresses.
Yeah, he really doesn't like to give his actresses anything.
I know. I almost said actress because usually it's one per film.
Yeah. He does have two in this. One kind of shady person. The other one is kind of a doormat. There is a third one, but we don't see her, and she dies off screen. So
yeah.
So there you go.
Oh, there's a fourth one.
Like, there's more than one woman?
Yeah, there's three, and then there's a fourth one that we hear about.
Yeah.
But she kills herself for being too much of a doctor, and then
too much of a
oh. I like her. Yeah. So
oh, that's right. There's the scientist. Did she have a name?
No.
Scientist.
Cool.
We
have Army Lady. We have Army Lady.
Oh yeah, there's a fifth one.
Army Lady.
Oh yeah.
Scientist.
What are you complaining about?
Woman, wife. So scientist. So Army Lady, scientist lady, wife lady.
Mm-hmm.
How many other Lego ladies?
Priya lady.
Oh yeah, Priya Lady.
And then there's the one
that we get told stories about from the future.
Yeah, who
Future
created
scientist lady
that created a world-ending device that was so bad that she shot herself in the head in shame.
You know what, though? At least in the future, we're allowing women to take credit for the scientific achievements that they have.
That is correct.
Sure, even if they should.
Jesus.
At least they have a choice.
She might have fucked up the world, and it's a terrible thing she invented, but they let her have the credit for it.
Well, I mean, I think, and that's a legitimate point that you raise. I mean, not to get too much into the weeds in this, but I mean, women throughout history have been, kind of struck from the record, be it either for good or for bad. And I think both of those, are bad. Yeah. Both of those are bad things.
Folks, if I ever create a world-ending device, you can go ahead and strike my name from the record. I'm okay with it.
I mean, I'm sure she'd appreciate it, but like, it's nice that
it's the best Christopher Nolan will do.
Yeah. How do you even start talking about a film like this?
So we'll
start at the
beginning. The film begins in a
cool.
The film begins in a theater where there's a violent shooting, and no, I'm not talking about The Dark Knight Rises. I'm talking about the Philharmonic.
A little late on that one.
Wow.
Whoa.
Holy shit.
I mean, I wouldn't say too soon, though. I wouldn't say too soon.
I mean, I get it. It's not making me laugh. But
I guess it's only been, say,
8 years.
8 years.
9. This scene, at first, you're like, why is this happening? And then it takes about an hour and a half before you begin to get the pieces of the puzzle to that situation.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions about this scene. I think there are 5 groups of people here at this event. You have the CIA, you have the police, you have the terrorists, you have Sator's men, and Neil is there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's 5 different.
There's five different parties.
Yeah. Because at first I thought the Sator's men and the terrorists were the same people.
No.
But we find out that they actually stole it from him later. And where it gets confusing is John David Washington, who one of my least favorite parts about this movie is that his name is protagonist, and he refers himself to as protagonist. Like, we don't need that. We don't need that in this movie. Like,
yeah, what is this, like, art school bullshit?
Just like, he doesn't need a name, but he doesn't have to point it out to us throughout the film that it's like, I don't have a name, I'm a protagonist in a film.
Well, and they literally refer to Sador and his group as the antagonists as well later on in the film. So
yeah, I'm okay with that one because they don't say it multiple times. But John David Washington sees a bullet being shot in reverse. Who, how, what, where does that come from?
I don't think he saw it being shot in reversed. I think that he saw the hole and then heard the bang and thought that he was being shot. And it comes from the dude who tries to shoot him.
No, because we see the bullets start to get undone.
It's Pattinson's character.
Spoiler.
Sorry, that is a very big spoiler. We can maybe get into this a little bit further, but I think
I think we're past spoilers.
Yeah. No, I know we are.
Okay.
No, but I mean, so you
because
he's looking at the bullet hole because it's right next to the bomb, and he watches as it starts to like collapse back into itself.
Yeah.
And then he moves out of the way right as it like the impact moment.
Yeah,
I don't think did somebody move him? I thought he got moved.
No, he moves out of its way.
Yeah.
Because
he sees it coming. And
why was
so? I think maybe before we get too far into this, I think we might just have to tackle like the mechanic of time travel.
But it's not time travel.
Exactly. It's time inversion.
Mm-hmm. So you go backwards through time.
Yeah.
No.
That's tense.
No.
Well, you're going forward. You are moving in a linear direction against time. So it's like I was trying to find a way to how to describe this. And it's basically like being in a car that's driving down a road. The car drives down the road and stops. You get out and walk back down the road that you came from. You're seeing all the same things, but you're walking backwards down that road.
I don't know why you're having they explain it clearly in the movie. It's like pissing into the wind. That's all it is, folks. It's just pissing into the wind.
Or walking upstream. Well, I think the thing that was confusing for me is like, are you moving back? Yeah. So are you moving backwards in time? Like, are you basically like having to go through all the motions, or like, how does that all work? But basically you're just,
yeah.
Not necessarily.
In a sense, but you're again like you as a person, as your experience is moving forward, but you're actually heading like if time is like a landscape, you're heading backwards in time, and every time you get into one of those turnstiles, you're basically flipping direction. You're either walking away from the car or back to the car, but the car is where you always have to stop because once you get to the car, time begins to move forward for you. And for everyone.
The problem with the concept is it's hard to visualize, and he tries his damnedest, giving us color coding, showing us things, how things move in reverse, but it's hard to visualize the concept outside of explaining it like Bill and Ted's. I'm just gonna go back in time and put something there.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's a hard like.
Which is what they do. And it is, he does do his hardest to, he gives us the color coding, the red team and the blue team, and try to explain it while they're in motion. He also does things like when the protagonist is moving backwards and has to figure out how to move his body, he goes to run and his whole body is moving in reverse instead of when he runs, like we would expect his arms to go forward, they go backwards, and they're trying to explain it to him. It's just a hard concept to be like, okay, here's the little bite-sized version of it. Now go watch it happen. Whereas Inception, it's Josh and I were talking about this, is very easy for you to have visual clues of you diving deeper into dreams.
Well, and that's exactly why I say this is like, I really like the concept and I really like the movie, but it is very much a completionist, I think, focus movie, because this is the master class of of Nolan. Like, you need to go watch all of those movies, practice applying your critical lens to all of those films before I think you're prepared to try and take on this film.
I don't think so. I think you just have to. This is what.
Really?
Because I think as long as you're having a conversation about it,
Yeah.
then you got what you're supposed to out of the movie.
I mean,
I guess that's true.
I will say, if another director had done this, if another director's name was attached to it, I don't know if I would have watched it the same way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I give certain leeway. I know how to think through a Nolan film.
Yeah.
Because
whether I'm overthinking it or not.
Because that's what he does. He works, his brain works in a certain way, and after you've watched enough of his like critical thinking movies, you just know how to follow his train of thought.
Exactly.
And so like, this is what I was talking about when I was giving my thing about whether or not this is a watch or not, is that this movie physically affected me. I kept feeling like I was moving in reverse at times. Like when our protagonist was moving in reverse, like we had to pause so I could go to the bathroom, and I fell a little bit because my whole body didn't know what the fuck it was doing for a second. And it's just it's weird. And like the fact that something like this can physically affect how you feel because you're processing how a movie is doing this that's why I think it's good. It's
weird.
Did you guys notice that every time you were moving it backward, you were, I guess, inverting time in this film, the score would also do so.
Yeah.
Yes.
The score would also be played backward. I love that shit. I love that shit.
Josh should not like that.
It's an unsubtle way to do a thing.
You guys are being very quiet.
I don't disagree.
Being negative Nellies over there.
I'm not even being that negative. I haven't really even said anything during this episode, but like,
shut up, Jonathan.
Movie, you're just not.
No, because that's my thing. Like, no, okay. Well, here's a couple things I will say. The opening scene at the opera is one of the most just visually Christopher Nolan things you will ever see. You see that and you fucking know it's him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The way he frames everything, the orchestra tuning, just setting fucking tension in that scene, because it's such an uncomfortable noise. And so after we watched this movie, I set a theory into the room, and I'm going to do the same thing now because I think it's the only thing that I can think of that makes any sense. Christopher Nolan, throughout the course of his life,
hates the orchestra. Has
actually tapped into all of these technologies he puts into movies. He has created all of these things. And he's just like, I can't just show this to people because there's no way the world will ever accept these things. So I'm just going to make a movie about it. However good that movie is, whatever. But he just decides to put all of these things to film. But he himself has created them. They are actually real world technology.
I love you, but you're insane. My theory that Neil is Elizabeth Debicki's son.
Yep.
Is
I'm
100%.
pretty sure that's
that's
the thing.
I immediately was like, that's Neil's our kid, isn't he? This is gonna make sense. Neil's our kid.
Agreed.
Can you
take it?
Travel outside of your lifespan?
No. You can only move backwards. Technically, to the point where you pop back out.
Which is why they don't go forward in time.
Well, that's literally what Kick-Ass says. He's look through this window. If you don't see yourself come out of that, don't go into it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more of a process thing rather than
No, I think
like
that's something fucking bad is gonna happen. If you don't see you on the other side of that, don't go in there.
But I think that's more of like something bad happens in the machine and not.
Yes.
I think that's the universe suddenly splits apart and nothing good happens.
But I don't think that is related to whether or not you were born by that point.
I
I agree with Josh in this case. I don't necessarily think that was meant to say that something cataclysmic would happen with like the time travel aspect. I think it just literally means that like if you don't see yourself coming out of it, like that means that you have not gone back in time and you've died.
There's no you to go back through.
There's no causal. Yeah, right. Exactly.
I don't think that you can move forward either. I don't think you can, because you can't outlive your timeline, because you can't go forward. You can only move forward at a normal pace, just like you can only move backwards at a normal pace. So you can't like go into the future, because if they could, they would have gone back to stop the scientists.
Here's
you can live backwards and live forwards, but you can't like hop to different time frames.
So here's why I don't think he is her son. Because when Elizabeth Debicki gets shot with the reverse bullet, they go back into the backwards machine so that she can heal. So I think if he was her son, when he goes into the thing, he would revert. I think you're just reverting back through to whatever.
I don't know, because
otherwise the Elizabeth Debicki thing doesn't make sense.
Protagonist didn't have a wound. And then as he was moving backwards, a wound got worse and worse and worse until you see him actually get it.
Yeah, because his physical form got it at that point. So if Neil's physical form is a child to the point he goes back to, then he would be going back to that point.
But I don't think that he
wouldn't come out as a child, though. He would come out as who you are, narrative.
Which is why Elizabeth Debicki didn't actually. They just gave her more time to heal from it. They didn't actually have her wound reverse, which is why she has a scar. Because if it had just reversed her wound, she would have only needed to go back 10 minutes and she wouldn't have been shot and she'd have been fine. But she had to reverse. They had her going backwards so that she had more time to heal.
Well, just how like fire, like an explosion will freeze a car, like going back, being in that experience is basically, it's, as Josh said, it's reversing entropy. It's basically building cells or building whatever.
Which is why if he was Neil, that means they had to put him in a shipping container for 25 years so that he could age into Robert Pattinson.
That's basically what we're saying.
Which is, I don't know how the logistics of that seem like it would be a bad idea.
I just don't think that. I think you don't, when you have reversed your entropy, I don't think that you're aging. I think you're
then he would be, if it was her son. I think
you're just in stasis, basically.
So that's the thing. This movie, there are two things that this movie does not tackle in terms of how it deals with this. Aging. I'm going to use the term time travel. Fuck off. Yeah. I know that, whatever. It's shorthand. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
One, we don't know if they are still aging linear or if they're aging reverse when they get inverted.
I think that they're aging linear, but that's just my opinion.
Don't think they're aging at all. I think when you reverse, you don't age.
Because you're no longer moving.
Because your cells are inverted as well, which means that you're not doing anything.
Reverse entropy. Yeah, that's true.
You're literally just in stasis, basically.
Which is why you can sit in a holding container for 40 years.
Yes.
And then pop out and then do stuff.
Yes.
You're
probably doing some like push-ups or.
I mean, probably
gotta get that Neil look.
Probably doing some pull-ups on the side of a boat for some reason.
If all of your cells are inverted, if you lay perfectly still, you'll come out of that 40 years fucking jacked, right?
I don't think that it like inverts that way. I think instead of decaying, they just become stasis.
Right. No, I'm just being an idiot. Two, they don't ever show the linear re-meetup point. So where do you stop being yourself doing stuff in the past and become you?
When you get in the machine.
Yeah.
That's like literally, because that's why you're watching yourself go into the machine.
Yeah, that's the meetup, is you getting in the machine.
Okay, so then
you are watching you getting into the machine. That is still you currently. It's basically like walking through one door and out another.
Just with a mirror.
Right. But where my thing is that we, again, with this discussion of like,
so there has to be like a middle point.
There has to be a middle point
because
where
everything is coming.
The two become one again.
And I think that's the 10-minute fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's where everything is coming back. And from there, because it's after that fight that Neil starts going back to the opera house.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that's where all of this. And so I think there's a point
But
from
the original Neil is still in a shipping container somewhere.
Wait,
Because-
why is Neil in a shipping container?
Because he's
Because-
coming from the far future back to the...
When the protagonist finally sets this all up and builds a friendship with Neil. And then he has to be like, okay, buddy, get in a shipping container. I'll see you on the other side.
There it is. Yeah, that's right.
So there are some things that are just like my brain is imploding in on itself, trying to comprehend.
This movie hurts.
Yeah.
it hurts to think about a little bit.
I am going to take
So
this
did
opportunity.
fucking Inception. I'm just going to say it. So did
Yeah.
Interstellar. So did Inception. So did all the Nolan movies except for the fucking Batman ones.
I'm going to take
Bruce
this
Wayne
moment.
died at the end of that.
That was him in heaven. That's like his dead dream.
No, it's just
What
Alfred
Alfred
going.
wanted to see.
That's what I want.
We will get to that.
Don't want to shoot our Nolan load right at
All in one shot here.
Exactly.
What was intended to be a dry run, and now I've ended up with something of a mess on my hands.
Boom.
So I am going to take
funnier
this
if you say it more
opportunity
times.
to stop what we're doing,
Please, for the
And-
love of God.
and I'm just going to talk about viewing experience. Of
Yeah,
this
let's
movie.
get out of like
let's dig ourselves out of this.
just
hole.
like yeah.
It's a bit
just,
of a fun hole to dig.
I guess just that last thing on that is I think that is where a lot of the problems, I guess, with this movie, even though I enjoyed it, even though I think it is good, I think the concept easily bogs down the rest of it because you have to
Yeah.
overthink things now or you
Totally.
are just confused.
Or
because
or you interpret it a different way than he probably meant it, and it loses stuff. Like it can easily unravel for people who are just like, my brain doesn't want to compute.
I mean,
Well,
guess-
Heather,
I guess-
again, it's like being in a car.
Well, I guess where I'd start with that is that I like that, like, immediately they get into explaining the concept. They don't fuck around with it. She is immediately like, okay, this is how this works. But right after we are explained this, we're given all these other little scenes that am I echoey?
No,
I think you're fine.
We are given these scenes that feel like, are we supposed to think these objects have been time affected, or are they not? Because Jonathan and I were talking about this earlier about the bungee cord scene. It feels like something about that scene seems off enough that, is this supposed to be time reversed, or is this just them bungee jumping up a building? And it's really them just bungee jumping up a building. But
Yeah.
And that scene, to get onto Jonathan's point, I think is a good starting point, because that's the first scene when I was like, this is going to be, because typically a Christopher Nolan movie is about the process of how he gets from point A to point B. And I think this time he wasn't as interested in that process, because this scene, he would show you how they get from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. But in this, they're just like, I think I have a way. Smash cut to them bungee jumping up a building.
They're just hurtling themselves.
I'm just
They
like,
kind of talk about it. He says something about bungee jumping, and he's like, "Yeah, let's do that."
is it too?
Yeah.
Is it,
Fuck.
it's too. It's too low to paraglide into, or whatever, parachute into.
But what about bungee jumping?
Bungee jumping?
Yeah,
into? No,
I have
it's
an
not
idea,
like-
but you're not going to like it.
Yeah, I
kind
also
of
think that's
conversation.
because this isn't an important A to B.
none of his entire career has been everything is the
everything has been. an
No,
important-
we don't watch them drive every single car from one point to another point. We don't watch them. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like,
calm it down, Cinema Sins.
that's the point. Like it is, but it isn't. Like,
But like in
it's
the
just-
Batman movies, you see every gadget he uses.
because
Lucius
the Batman
Fox
movies
gives it
are
to him.
about the gadgets.
Yeah.
Those wonderful toys.
You're
Well,
telling
and
me
again,
that you
I
think that this
think if the
movie is
bungee
about
scene-
the bungee jumps?
If the bungee scene involved the mechanic of this film, I think it would have gotten a lot more attention. But since it's literally, I think it's Heather said, just hurtling themselves to the top of this building, it wasn't really worth, I guess, the time.
They made a big deal about it's gonna take some effort to get in there, but it's not like Harley said, the mechanic. Like, it's not about the theory, so they're not gonna focus on it.
Have you guys ever heard of like a Sator Square? Did you know this was like a whole thing? Like, this entire movie is based off of like a really like strange like artifact that was found.
No.
Cool. Well, if anyone's interested and just wants to learn a little bit more, there's like a word square, basically like what would be like I guess nowadays like a Sudoku cube, but it basically has literally all of the words that are related to this film: Sator, Arepo, Tenet, Opera, Rhodos. It's like a religious artifact.
Yeah,
which is very interesting.
I remember reading about that. That was one of the first things when trying to decipher what this movie was going to be about, because I think Tenet Tenet's the middle. It's not just the middle, like one way. It's both middles.
It's crossed. Yeah.
Christopher Nolan has always shown us how we get to each point, whether it's making sure we know that the we didn't have to see Ariadne in Inception creating a puzzle. They could have just said that, but he goes through the steps of showing us that these characters are competent and they know what we're doing by showing them doing what they're doing, as opposed like this just does the shorthand of, well, I'm not going to do that. And for me, Christopher Nolan going through the process has always been like one of the draws. So seeing him very early on being like, nah, not this time, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a little bit different.
I get that.
The other thing
in a 2.5 hour long movie, I'll give him some shorthand.
Yeah,
I'll give him some shorthand that doesn't involve inverting time.
Yeah,
I feel like there's other stuff that he could have trimmed to make room for.
But I totally get where you're coming from, though, Josh. Like the beauty of a lot of Christopher Nolan's films is that he doesn't just introduce like cool things. Typically, like he'll actually take the time to explain it and make sure that you're aware of how it would work in the real world. Like he grounds everything. Yeah. And so to not have that for that specific scene is a little different, is a little jarring. Yeah. It makes the movie feel a little bit less smart, I think.
Yeah. The other scene that I was like, it's even now it still doesn't make sense, is that when Michael Caine is explaining the Sator backstory, and at one point he was saying like 2 weeks ago there was a nuclear explosion and Sator came out and now he's got $1 billion, and I was like, that makes it seem like Sator appeared 2 weeks ago with all of this stuff.
That's what I thought too. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not how this happened. But that's how Michael Caine explains it, and no one stops him and goes, Michael, can we do that again?
Can we do another run of that?
Put a period in that sentence. Those are two sentences you just mashed together there, bro.
But I think, I mean, again, not to get too caught up again in the theory, but I think that explosion is like what that's the thing, because I thought that was him blowing up all of the artifacts. That was him blowing up all of the
explosion he's talking about is the explosion at the end of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he's trying to detonate the end of the world thing and it doesn't actually.
Where he's trying to bury it so people can't get to it and turn it off while he kills himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how about the cinematography of this film? I really enjoyed it.
So, okay.
Some of it was fine. Some of it they didn't know how to do the lighting correction, and they're just like, that looks bad. Let's just leave it like that.
So, just so, if anything, I don't have to be on a 5 hour long podcast.
Shit.
I'm going to say some stuff right now.
Do it.
Because at a certain point, I'm gonna leave y'all fuckers to argue over goddamn timelines, and I'm just gonna fucking peace out.
No,
and then you're gonna walk back in.
And then I'm gonna walk back in.
But it won't be you, it'll be future you moving backwards in time.
Waking up and telling you guys to shut the fuck up because I'm trying to sleep downstairs.
That's fair.
So this movie was a very interesting watch for me. I went into it not really knowing what to expect. I knew there was going to be some reverse time stuff. I didn't know how that was going to work out. It gets kind of introduced in that opening segment, and then some shit happens, and what is his name? It's not Tate Donovan.
Martin Donovan.
Martin Donovan shows up and gives your boy his new set of instructions, except he only gives him like half of them.
Because he only knows half.
And then it sets everything in motion. Everything gets set in motion. He goes and meets up with French doctor lady. She shows him all of this reverse stuff that is just popping up all over the world.
The criminally underrated, was it Clemence Posey?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
love her. And in Bruges.
I'm watching the movie and she's like, oh yeah, here's all of this stuff. It's reverse. Like, and so he like goes to pick it up and she's like, no, you have to have dropped it to pick it up. That's how this works. And tells him all of the stuff. And I love some of the lines of dialogue. Like, she literally says the thing that we should have all taken to heart was, don't think too hard about it.
Yeah,
Totally.
So she shows us the reverse thing, and I'm like, okay, here's where this is going to come into play. And then an hour and a half of movie happens, and I'm like, wait, is that ever going to come into play again? Because he just goes and starts this new job, not as the CIA, but still basically being in the CIA, of doing clandestine shit instead of his old job of doing clandestine shit. And then like once it actually starts happening again and I'm realizing like what the movie is doing, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm super into this. Like when he and Neil meet up and they blow up the airport, the Freeport, and they're like doing all the stuff in there. And then there's like the things close, and then the things open, and like the two dudes pop out and they're like fighting them, and one like he's clearly fighting the dude who's reversed, and he's trying to figure out how to fight somebody who's moving backwards. And that whole thing was fucking rad. And then when that pays off later on, I was like, yes, I am super fucking on board for all of this. The whole end thing where you're seeing the two teams coming in, and as team red is coming in, team blue is already leaving because they've already been there for X amount of time. And then John David Washington and Kick-Ass are like, no, we are SEAL Team 6. We are going in to do this shit. I was on board for fucking everything.
Yep.
Where the movie lost me was in the very last scene of him getting into the car and talking to Priya, and being and the I don't care about the payoff to him giving her the phone. I'm fine with that. The way the movie does all of it fucking upset me, and I thought it was stupid.
That's
him getting in the car.
They already explained it.
Yeah, him getting in the car and then literally referring to himself as I'm the protagonist, and then shooting her, and I was like, oh, I hate this now.
Yeah.
And so I'd like I said at the top of this, like it was a roller coaster for me, where it was like, this is interesting. No, nothing's happening. I don't. What the fuck even is this? Oh no, this is super fucking rad. I'm super into this. Oh, that was just the worst you could have possibly done to end this. Why would you do it that way?
It was a really weird note to end it on. Yeah. I do agree. I mean, I guess it's maybe just him accepting that he just needs to do whatever is necessary.
When we watched this, we talked about it, and as if he had just killed the guy and Priya without saying anything, it would have done the exact same thing. It would have wrapped up that loose end without making him insufferable.
Like if we just see him you get a shot of him listening to a voicemail. Mm-hmm. And then them in the car, you see her walking by, you just hear two shots, it's them dead, and then you see her make the call. He's like, oh, okay, I get it. That was the thing. Yeah. As opposed to like how they did it in the where I don't know. It just
it was again, just an unnecessary piece of dialogue.
Yeah, the whole conversation between him and her in the car was just, I could have done without all of that.
The one thing I'll give that conversation though is you could understand what they were saying, as opposed to huge, not just unimportant stuff like like one of the things I do like about the Freeport heist is that they set everything up. It's like they do the thing of walking you through. These are the tools they have. This is what they're up against, and then we get to see them put that into motion, which was what I appreciate in things like that, where like you were given all the information and then you see them do it, and so you know what the stakes are and what can go wrong, what happens if it goes wrong, etc.
Which is totally Nolan's calling card. Like he loves that kind of shit. Yeah, and I love that shit. So, but
then there are some sections of dialogue, like the entirety of John David Washington's and Sator's conversation at the end, where I was just like, I have no idea what either of them are saying, because John David Washington's in a mask, and Sator has the terrible Russian accent, and the music is blaring, and there's like sound effect, like gunshots, and it's just like, I don't know what they're saying.
You think time will save you?
But
relevant.
Yeah. Sator goes on this big long rant about the future and about, how we've destroyed the world, and like the comeback that John David Washington has, like, hey man, everybody looks out for themselves. And I was like, well, that's kind of like it's a little anticlimactic John David Washington.
Yeah.
It's a little similar to if a character is trying to make everybody's lives better and someone says, hey, the world's good as it is. Folks, listen to our Wonder Woman 1984 review to get that reference. But it's kind of like a similar thing with just like they've set up this problem, and then the main character's solution to it is kind of just like, hey, stop that. It seems kind of like a weird setup.
Just be cool, yo.
Just take a chill pill, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other confusing thing watching in theaters too without the subtitles is that for the first like 2 hours of the movie, I thought his name was Sato, which I was like, so you're just going to use that name again? Are you there, Chris? But no. Like 2 hours into the movie, John David Washington says Sator, and I was like, oh, Sator. Everyone else calls him Sato throughout the movie.
It's because you didn't do your research and you didn't know all about the Sator cube,
which I looked at and is super cool.
Super fucking cool, right? Cool. Like, and the basic, like the fact that the entire movie.
Sorry.
The whole movie
froze, so go ahead and say your thing.
I can actually say my thing. The fact that Tenet's, because it's in Latin, and Tenet's definition in Latin is he/she. It holds, keeps, comprehends, possesses, masters, preserves, sustains.
So there you go. The protagonist of the movie.
The protagonist of the movie is holding it, keeping it, comprehending it, possessing it, masters. So it's super cool. Sator is a farmer. He's a sower, a planter, a founder. Literally a seeder is what Sator like. So it's like it's a farmer, and he's sowing this.
Yeah,
sowing the seeds of love.
So, I was gonna say
seeds of love. Seeds of love.
Boo.
Yeah. So it's pretty. Like I was like, oh my god, Tenet means so cool. Like I like it.
Yeah, and this is just classic fucking Nolan. Like he'll find the shit and then just base the whole movie on it just because he can. Fucking asshole.
Yeah. You know what I really could have done without though? The domestic violence. I brought it up at the beginning, but like I was like, this is too much for a summer blockbuster popcorn movie.
Well, was it supposed to be obviously throughout is tough. Throughout the film is rough, but there's definitely like the scene where Branagh basically just leans into it.
Can we talk about how this is a weird role for Kenneth Branagh to take, and
super
also
weird.
What the fuck did they do to Kenneth Branagh? Because I was watching it and I'm like watching it, no big deal. And then somebody says, "Oh yeah, Branagh," and I went, "What the fuck?" Because my brain clicked that was Kenneth Branagh in a fat suit. I swear to God, because there's no way Kenneth Branagh looks that old and that fat.
I got bad news for you.
I know. Time makes fools of us all, Heather.
I was like, oh my God, Kenneth Branagh, what did they sting him with a bunch of bees?
No, but like, all joking aside, though, like, I mean, I think this film really does need to drive home the fact, like, Kenneth Branagh's a fucking incredible actor, man. He's been in a ton of shit.
He is, and I definitely was just like, this is a weird role for him to take. I have not seen him be an ultra bad guy like this before, and I find it very interesting.
Yeah, with like a pretty decent Russian accent. Like, I didn't find myself questioning it one time.
I did after I found out it was Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
I do think he was not in the movie that everybody else was in. He was operating in a film directed by James
Kenneth
Cameron.
Branagh.
But like he was in a different movie. Elizabeth Debicki was in the third movie. Then everyone else was like, this is a heist time
heist
inversion movie. And she was like, I'm in a domestic drama with a seriously abusive husband. And he was like, I'm in the new James Bond, right? Where I just get to like scream my like there's literally
the worst.
He's literally is like one point he's just like telling her she's a piece of shit, which is like the scene where I was like, okay, take this scene out and my Clooney's go up a couple of steps. But
yeah, no,
he's
totally.
like just kicking her in the stomach and in the chest, and he's like, and I was like, that was something.
He screams at her at one point in that scene, and the music gets really loud at the same time, so he's yelling something at her, and I couldn't hear it because of the music, and I was like, I'm just very disoriented and don't like this at all.
Yeah. Also, just the worst F-bomb, just the absolute worst in that scene when he's talking about a tiger's true fucking nature.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say it wasn't a great performance.
Is that the scene where he says, if I can't have you, nobody can? Or is that
That's the scene before that.
Oh, that's the one with the belt?
Yeah.
That was the one with the belt. That's fucking rough. That is some no.
That is a rough scene. I do like that she took that though, and then later was like, he doesn't mean me. He means the world, and if he can't have her, nobody can.
Yeah,
that line is still like
that line is still stupid. The line where she's like, I'm the vengeful bitch that you scarred, as she is unbuttoning her shirt. It was like, no, Christopher, that's a terrible fucking line.
Yeah, it is.
Bad optics on a bad line.
Yeah.
I just want to go back real quick to the
I'm sorry, do you want to invert? You mean
just him shooting Kat at the end in the car, like the whole point, Priya, because he's doing that to sort of take all of the major players out of this time inversion bullshit. Like once it, like now that she's done, now that the one who was coming to kill her, he kills them, and now he is the only one left. Once everyone else runs their course, that's it. It just felt, except for him, he is there now. He is like this.
Okay, time to build it up again.
Well, like I guess he does, but like he is one now, keeping guard of what happens. Like also, he is the only one now who can.
There's a shit ton of turnstiles just out in the world.
Yeah, well, there's like the mass production turnstile too. The ones that like they're going, all the soldiers are going to. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of them, so it's just like, who's guarding these so that random public people don't just get in them?
So the thing about him going and like the scene with Priya and him in the car is that it feels very reminiscent of the end of 12 Monkeys, where the lady who works in the lab shows up in the airplane and is like, I'm in insurance. It feels a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If she'd been like, I'm in insurance, I'm here to make sure the future still happens the way it's supposed to.
And then just shoots him.
Right.
Yeah, basically.
There are quite a few. The dialogue I could have done less with is all of the philosophy stuff that Christopher Nolan tries to get into every once in a while, where I'm just like, this feels a little bit like this stuff was just in brackets, where he's like, I'm going to come back, I'm going to polish this up. He's ran out of time. I got to put it all in. Because like when he's with the French doctor at the beginning, and like she's explaining the mechanics of this, and then just out of the blue, he's like, what about free will? And it's like, bro, you gotta get through it was just like a weird
That line just in general did seem kind of out of place.
Because like she's starting to explain this thing, and his first question is, "Well, what about free will?" It's like, how about we just get through how this bullet works before we get to how the rest of this works?
Well, because like
we gotta walk before we can run.
Yeah, because the way she's explaining it is that it's like, well, no, it's still there. It's our perception of it, and so it's still here, moving through time with us, but we perceive it differently. Yeah. And his immediate response is, "But what about free will?"
It's like, I just explained it to you. You still have to do the thing.
You still have to do it.
Yeah. I will give a shout out to my laziest boy actor, Robert Pattinson, who there's literally a scene where I imagine at some point he was supposed to like sit up and interact with John David Washington, but he was just like, I'm just going to lay here this entire scene.
Yeah.
I am not going to get up. I'm just going to lay here.
And at the end, he's literally just like, get some sleep and just rolls over.
Yeah.
And then Robert Pattinson actually just like went to sleep right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Fuck it. I don't care, man. Like, I'm going to have to wake up at 5 a.m. to be on set anyways. I'll be right fucking here.
Yeah. I find myself like low key. I find myself like just totally falling in love with Robert Pattinson. Like the more films that he's in.
Fucking same, dude.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what happened, but suddenly I'm just like, I'm on the train.
You're getting to see who he really is versus who you perceived him as.
Yeah.
Because even like this is who he was. Like I fell in love with this because I would watch those fucking interviews during Twilight. And this is just how he was.
He
you can go find all of those memes.
So great.
And just like how not serious he took it. And it wasn't even in that like, oh fuck this shit is dumb. Like he wasn't he was just like he would listen to like his co-stars talk, and he just like and it's not that he wasn't afraid, it was just that his social cues are just kind of fucked, and he just blurts shit out like a child. Yeah, because he's kind of a fucking child, and he's ridiculous.
Yes. I know. I haven't seen him in much until this year when we've watched 2 different movies
with him
playing 2 very different characters, and I'm just kind of like, this man's got some acting.
Were one of those films Lighthouse?
No, I did not watch Lighthouse.
Really
I watched
Devil all the time.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, no, we watched Devil All the Time with him in it,
which was technically last year, but
whatever.
I mean, yeah,
within the last 6 months, I've watched 2 movies with him playing very, very different characters, and I'm just kind of like, man, this guy's got some acting chops on him. Do I think that he's probably giving as much as like, I don't know, Helen Bonham Carter? No, not at all. But that's what I kind of like about him.
I will say this movie is better than that one. Tenet is better than Devil All the Time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't laugh as much during this, but
that's because the crazy shit didn't stop.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It never stopped.
Whatever you say about Christopher Nolan's screenwriting, and I think that's always screenwriting and directing anyone that is not top billed actors, I think always has been his weak points.
Yeah.
And I think,
do you think like does he give his actors like a lot of room to like interpret the scene or to just kind of riff, or like I guess why do you think that is from a director, like and to have that be like a common issue? I
think he has conversations with the actors that he has time for, and everybody else just has the script, and he puts the screen direction in it. It's like, it's in the script.
Well, I think he has conversations with the I guess important roles. He is, I think making friends with that, and then talking on a much more personal level. And I think that's why different things affect him. I think that's why Heath Ledger's death affected him so much. I think it was more than just, I fucked up my movie. Like, I think he gets close with these people.
Yeah.
And then I do think he gives some sort of freedom to it, in that he is comfortable having talk to them.
Yeah. And then you get the guy with the mustache who's narrating the chase scene in Dark Knight.
You know,
This is like the polar. Those are your two poles.
you know.
Those are the two ends of the spectrum. Freedom. Sometimes it's a curse.
But what about free will?
What about free will?
It's a movie from 1993 about a big whale that escapes from the SeaWorld. Was everybody? So the score for this film is a good score, but not for this film. I think there was a lot of times when it didn't fit the mood of the scene. I think the heist where they're on the highway, that works, but there's a lot that doesn't, like, irrespective of it's whether it's in reverse or not. Like, I just didn't feel like it always gelled entirely. Plus it was just incredibly loud and like overpowering.
I guess I'll admit, like, I think I was just so focused on trying to figure out what was going on, and also just trying to decipher what people were fucking saying in this film, that I didn't really give the score as much attention as I normally would. It didn't really jump out at me, though.
Yeah, the only times I can really remember the score are when I noticed it going backwards, which was something that I personally I got down with that.
Yeah.
Or the moments where the score got really loud because Kenneth Branagh was trying to yell over the score, and I was like, why is the score so loud right now?
Because he's too loud.
Because he is too loud. But outside of that, I didn't really notice the score in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm now realizing, like, I cannot pick out a single piece.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, of all of his movies, like, this is the one.
Like,
where
I still hum shit from Inception. Like, I still have shit in my brain from the Inception soundtrack. So it's kind of saddening, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Considering it's Amanda Brorian who did the score on this one.
Yeah.
What can you say? What can you say?
Wait, so this would probably be the first film in a while that Hans hasn't done the score for.
Yeah, he was too busy, quote unquote, doing the score for Wonder Woman 1984 when this happened. So,
well, that's exactly what happened then, because
yeah,
Hans Zimmer in a great film is great, even in a good film.
Was it just symbolism at the end with her wearing one color and the kid wearing the other? Was that just?
Was this a coincidence?
Just a coincidence.
just a coinky dink. Yep. I mean, I'm sure, again, just like every other Nolan film, I feel like if you go through this film scene by scene by scene, you could find all sorts of crap. I like various symbolisms, various like references to, again, this random cube that Nolan found and decided to make a whole film surrounding.
Yeah.
His films are dense.
Some people would say that Christopher Nolan is dense, but probably a different. So
I think it's fair to enjoy his movies, but also to maybe be a little skeptical of him as a person. I think that's okay.
I think that's fair.
Well, I mean, like, so especially with some of his dialogue, like this movie has a lot of dialogue where I just imagine him sitting down at a typewriter, because of course he uses a fucking typewriter, and just like,
was he Tom Hanks?
Yeah. And just like typing things out and being like, listen to how smart and British I sound. I'm making a movie.
I mean, it was nice that he did give himself a little bit of ribbing in that scene with Michael Caine, where it's like the British don't necessarily have a monopoly on snobbery. It's like,
but Christopher Nolan does, apparently.
Yeah. I was gonna say, that's a vested interest.
Yeah.
A controlling interest.
Yeah, which is probably why he turns the score up so high, so you can't tell what people are saying. So it's like, oh, it's fine. It sounded fine to me. I didn't hear anything weird.
Yeah. Well, especially in scenes like the airport scene, where I understand the guy walking Neil through the thing, like nothing that guy is saying is important, but at the same time, like, we're being shown around at the same time as Neil, but we're not given any of that guy's dialogue because it's all covered by the score, which is just really like,
yeah,
why not just go full montage on this if you're going to do this? Or just do it where the guy is actually walking us through all of it.
So I have a question. In the in the opera scene, John David Washington is there to get the part of the thing. He doesn't know that, but that's why he's there.
Mm-hmm. He's there to get the guy out who knows where the thing is.
Was he? Did he ever actually work for the CIA? Is he actually working for the CIA?
We don't know. He's working for a government body that we don't know.
They just name check the CIA at some point in the movie.
Yeah. He's like one of those agents that belongs to an agency that nobody actually knows the name of because they're so deep in everything that we don't get to fucking know.
Yeah.
This guy has no family. He has no friends. He has no identity that anybody knows at this point because he dies, quote unquote, and is told welcome to the afterlife, right? And then he literally calls somebody and they're like, hey, we heard you left the building. And he's like, well, even the dead needs friends, right? Like, this guy has been so underground for so long, there is no name anymore. He belongs to an agency that we as like normal people would never even know existed.
So does that mean he's always been working for...
Not Tenet, I don't think.
He's always been working for himself. He's just been working for something else.
But then if he's there to get because if he's there to get the thing that he was there to get the thing for...
He wasn't there to get the thing. He was there to get the guy who knew where the thing was.
But he may have been...
He may have set that up.
Yeah, and he might not have been working for himself until that mission, which is probably why we come in and watch that mission.
Yeah, I guess that's the question. Like, do you think did he send himself on that mission to test himself?
Probably.
Because that doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, it doesn't. But he also might have been like, hey, I need this thing from this agency. And the agency's like, you're right, you do need that thing. And then his agency did it. And then his agency's what tested it. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's just...
Yeah.
He just belongs to one of those agencies that...
Maybe is the...
Yeah. But I don't think it's probably the CIA.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. They do some shady ass shit. Who knows? I mean, we love you, CIA. Don't.
Yeah. It's fine. We love it. It's good. I'm just glad I live here in the United States where you guys aren't allowed to operate as opposed to anywhere else in the world.
Heard that.
Oh, yeah.
They just don't
like
know how
Canada.
to find,
So
this took a turn.
Hey, my bad.
Tenet.
A film that would have benefited from less uncomfortable domestic issues.
Was this supposed to be released in the summer or pre-summer?
No, it was a big July 4th from the beginning. It was their big July 4th, and that's what it was. This so that's why it's strange, like knowing that he was I'm going to put some real bad shit in here for women. You know how people always complain about how I treat women in my movies. Right. Well, fucking buckle up, sons of bitches.
Doubling down.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess at least the character who is operating in that scene as such is meant to be like literally the worst person in the world.
I feel like that doesn't make it better. As far as the film going experience goes, the film watching, I feel like that doesn't improve things at all. It just makes it confusing. Like you have this. It's like if in the middle of Ocean's 11, like Andy Garcia started kicking Julia Roberts in the stomach and be like, "Oh, now he's the bad guy." It would have made Ocean's 13 more confusing, but it also made Ocean's 11 a lot less fun to watch.
That's fair. That is true. That is true.
But yeah, final thoughts. Good action. It's kind of bad script. Needed a couple more. Needed a little bit more polish on that. He took 10 years to write Inception. I feel like this could have used another 5 years. This could have been like his movie after the next movie that he does. Because as I mentioned before, I would just like he needs a good script by like the guy that wrote like Sicario. He needs to direct a Sicario or something like that, where he puts his visual thumbprint on
somebody else's something.
Yeah,
totally.
Which I think has been missing from his.
Well, I mean, I think that's the thing. I don't think we'll ever really get that from Nolan. I feel like he considers himself too much of an auteur to really.
Well, and I think that there's just soured from working on Batman and having to work with someone else.
Like, I mean, if I had to work with David S. Goyer, I too would not want to work with anybody else ever again.
Like I feel like that like that whole experience soured him in so many different ways.
Yeah. If there was ever, maybe this is my monkey's paw where I'm just like, I wish Christopher Nolan would direct someone else's movie. And they're like, well, the only way we can do that is shut down the world for 9 months so that no movies come out in theaters and his next movie doesn't make $1 billion. So he makes whatever movie he wants to next.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
That's on me, guys. That's I'm taking that one.
Take that.
Damn you for rubbing the wish dong.
Yeah. Folks, listen to our Wonder Woman 1984. It's longer than this one, miraculously enough.
Jesus.
Jonathan, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Yeah, the action is all good. Once the movie gets going, I was way more into it than just from the jump. But as previously stated, that last scene just kind of fucking killed the movie for me. So yeah, I think there were some things that could have used a gentler hand, I'll say.
Oh no.
Oh no. Maybe his brother could have come in and been like, "Hey, bro, let me ghostwrite some of this shit for you here, and just let me scoop some of this under the rug real quick. We're gonna get rid of some of this." But I didn't hate the movie. I hated the ending, but I loved every second that your boy hashtag Team Edward was on screen.
Heather, final thoughts?
I don't know.
Accurate.
It is a movie. Josue, final thoughts?
Enjoyed it. Go see it. Watch it. Fucking try not to think too hard about it. It's not that hard, but
honestly, its biggest flaw is being 2.5 hours long. That's a commitment. That if you're gonna make a movie that you have to watch like a couple times to like get everything, like don't make it 2.5 hours. Don't do that to me. I could watch 2 movies in that amount of time.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think I have seen better from both Washington and Pattinson, but
as thinly characterized as they are, like everyone's doing the most with what they get.
Yeah, I feel like there's chemistry there, but I don't know. It wasn't.
This movie made me want to be friends with Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, right.
But so, I mean, I would like to see them together in something else,
like a Soderbergh or someone that writes characters and snappy dialogue.
Harley,
what's your final thoughts?
Well, I'll say is that if you're going to see one of 2 COVID era blockbusters between this and Wonder Woman, watch this movie.
Yeah, same length. This one's better. Not a high bar to come get over, but
weirdly enough, this one makes more sense.
Right?
Yeah.
They do have similar views on women, and
one has an excuse of being set in the 80s, I guess.
Yeah.
But somehow comes out the worse for it.
Exactly.
Find out which one. Watch them both.
Spoilers, Tenet takes place in the 80s.
Yeah, which movie takes place in the 80s? Tenet or Wonder Woman 1984? You tell us.
I will also say that if I hear the words temporal pincer movement again for the next week, I'm gonna like kick myself in the head and throw myself in the trash.
Speaking of dialogue where you couldn't understand a single thing he said that entire briefing, I didn't get a word of that when I saw it in theaters. No,
I was just trying to figure out how like the mechanics of it all would work. Well, and it hurt my head. That's probably why I didn't even mind that last scene that Johnny keeps talking about, just because like I was still trying to wrap my head around everything that was going on.
Yeah. And that's the thing about that the pincer movement scene is it doesn't actually do anything. It's literally just a distraction, which is, I think, one of the reasons why I was like, stop cutting back to it, because I know this is just to distract Sator from knowing what's happening, but I don't need to be distracted from knowing what's happening, and that's kind of what it's doing.
Exactly.
So this is probably going to be the most contentious episode of the Nolan.
The Nolanverse.
Maybe Dunkirk. I don't know.
Maybe because this movie ran a temporal pincer movement on our fucking
hearts.
brains.
It ran a temporal.
On our.
Anyway, tempura princer on my heart.
A tempura princess.
Tempura princess.
Tempura Princess, the one of the lesser known Miyazaki movies.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Fuck, I could go for some tempura princess right
Let's
now.
get some. I was just gonna say some tempura, but oh Jesus!
No, that's what the plate would be called. It's the,
Okay. I was
like you're not
what?
like
Princess, yeah.
What
when
are we
you
doing
order
to
a
a princess
spider
right
roll,
now?
like you're not getting a fucking spider filled sushi. Like
That's
God,
what
That you know of.
I thought it was a spider on my face. Can we all just appreciate for a second I did not scream on the podcast when I
Fair
definitely
enough.
thought a spider was on my face?
Yeah.
yeah, that's fair.
So as mentioned before, I'm going to, maybe not surprisingly, I'm going to rate Tenet as the top Christopher Nolan movie on the list. Jonathan, where did you put it?
I would say so far, I think this would be number one on the Nolan list of movies. Do we even need to go through this?
Can
This is
we
the first
not?
fucking movie.
Yeah, I mean, this is
not.
1 out of 1.
Hey guys,
Like,
if you say it, this is 1 out of 1. Just say I. Just say I, Josh.
Just fucking say
I
it.
just want to say it's at the top of my list.
God damn it.
Harley.
Harley, where's it on your list so far?
I mean, comparing this film to the Christopher Nolan film,
so we are just gonna
I would,
fucking do
I would
this.
definitely
God.
say.
Okay, well,
that
I'm
this
outta
film
here.
is
The
Fuck
better.
off.
fucking humorous.
I mean, you could put it at the bottom too, I guess.
I put it right in the middle.
It is both at the top and on the
It is
bottom.
coming.
It is, yeah.
The cinematic pincer movement.
No, we all know I'd put it right. You know I'd put it right in the bottom.
Oh no.
Christ, folks.
No, it's no.
Oh no!
Join us next week when we
really
don't talk
apologize.
about this movie anymore.
Come back next
I'll miss
week. I'm laying down the chips now. Come back next week. We're gonna be talking about Batman: Mask of the Phantasm
Too good.
and
Then the week after that, when we're talking about
Real Steel.
yeah.
Real Steel.
A lot of fun stuff to keep track of. Also, keep an eye out on our Instagram. We're going to be releasing. We're going to be putting up our Animarch lineup, so that way you all fine folks can watch the movies we watch. So when you listen, you know what the fuck we're talking about. So
There you go.
yeah,
There you go.
thank you
There you go.
all for listening to the Moist Boys podcast. Head on over to our Patreon, hit that up for on someone. If you listen to this and you're like, man, I wish these people made money doing this, then
God bless you.
seek help, but also head on over to our Patreon.
God bless.
Patreon.com/MoistBoysPodcast. But until then, we'll be back.
Patreon.com/temporal pincer movement.
God damn it, Johnny.
Patreon.com/Tenet.